Cool. How you doing? My name is Spencer Smith. I'm here with my friends. We got Mary Daniel, we got Connor, we got Will. So today we're going to go over how to understand the deeper meaning in a literary text through annotation. So what is a deeper meaning and how do we find it? Let's talk about that first before we get into annotation. So a way that I like to think about understanding a deeper meaning in a literary text is through this illustration here. So keep on saying so. So we got a tree, we got a house, and we got a box, right? So everything is on the surface level. So let's say we're just walking around on the surface level, checking things out. We see a box, we're like, that's not very significant. But little do we know that if we dig a little bit, we can find something really valuable, and that's that treasure box. I think of understanding a literary passage in the same way, that you could just be reading a book, just getting a baseline understanding of the text at hand, but not really digging deep. So there's a way to really dig deep in a text and a passage and understand something that's really valuable that you can take away from the text. So we're going to talk about how to do that through annotations. So annotations are a way to interact with the text at hand. So the way that we interact with the text through annotations is literally by underlining, by circling, by writing things in the margins. So it's like really getting your hands in on the text at hand. So that's the way that we can understand the deeper meaning. So you might ask, like, why annotate? Why is annotating important? So a good way that I think about it is when I'm having a conversation with someone or someone's just like talking to me, maybe at like a lecture. A lot of things seem to go over my head because it's just one person talking to me. But if I'm having a conversation with some of my friends, then it's a lot easier for me to understand what we're talking about because I'm asking questions. I'm trying to really understand what they're talking about because I'm there, I'm trying to interact with them. So annotation is a way for you to talk back to the text, as weird as that might sound. So we're going to talk about some specific ways to annotate, or some really specific ways or things to look out for, but there are not specific ways to annotate. So I want to make that clear of there's different ways to underline, different ways that we like to learn. So I'm not going to teach you this is how you do this certain thing. I'm going to teach you overall things to look out for that you might want to annotate. So starting off, we just kind of go through the main point and thesis statement of a passage or a text. So a main point or thesis statement is kind of just a sentence or a couple sentences that give kind of a summary of the whole text at hand. So if you see something like that, it's really valuable to annotate this because it shows a summary of the whole text. So you really have an understanding of the whole summary. So that's a good thing to write down and annotate. Another thing to look out for and consider annotating is questions that you might have. So oftentimes when I'm reading a passage, I don't fully understand the passage at hand, and I might have questions that I want to go back and look up, questions that I might want to ask my teacher. So you can write those questions in the margins. That's okay. We want you to write those questions. So that's another way to annotate. Another way to annotate after that is quotes. So sometimes there's really good quotes that you want to maybe even memorize, quotes that are significant to you, quotes that you think are interesting, maybe even quotes that you don't like, something that you want to annotate that you think is significant to the passage as a whole. That's another thing to consider writing down and annotating. The final ones are themes and symbols. So first, themes are similar to kind of just like an overall deeper understanding of the passage at hand. So you think of maybe a redemption story, that's a theme. So if you see in the text an example of something being redeemed, or maybe a coming of age story, an example, a word that might show you that theme, that's a good thing to annotate, to circle, to star. Another thing to annotate is symbols. So symbols are kind of maybe like the moon. A full moon kind of represents something being a little bit mischievous or strange. That would be a good thing to circle and annotate. So those are kind of some things that we want to look out for when annotating. But again, people annotate in different ways, but it's good to find those significant things to write down and annotate. So we're going to move into our jingle real quick. So our jingle is kind of the things that we just talked about, things that I want you guys to know and learn, and when you see it's oh, that's something that I want to write down. So we got questions, quotes, themes, or symbols. And so that's kind of the rhythm. We're going to go questions, quotes, themes, or symbols. Questions, quotes, themes, or symbols. So now we need some class participation. Are you ready?
Questions, quotes, themes, or symbols. Questions, quotes, themes, or symbols.
That's really good. I appreciate that.